Hello and welcome back to RC Icons. So in this video, we've got two kits. I want to get going on building my Golf Group 2, but that's a little bit involved. So if you saw my recent buy bargains video, you'll see in that video that I brought in a TA05 M4, which is the M version TA05, or essentially a TRF car, all carbon and blue bling. Chris Watson had sent me a picture a while back of his, and I fell in love with the chassis. So I've always loved the Group 2. One of my favorite cars from Tamiya that they've ever done. In fact, I have the original number 25 with this stamped steel chassis, new in box, and it's staying new in box for my new in box collection. I also have the sister car, the Renault 5 Turbo, the original, but that body has a cut in the top from shipping, customs. The guy I bought the car from was a moron and didn't protect the top of the car so that when someone cut through with a box knife, it wouldn't hit the car, is what it is. I ended up sourcing a new Turbo 5 body for the M05, which is on the original mold. It actually still has the holes in the back for the original chassis, the way that it pins on. So I bought this as a backup, but more importantly, there's a vent that goes in the front here that I need for the original. So I haven't decided yet if I'll probably fit that vent on this body for now, and then when I do the original, I may take it off and put it on that. Depending on how that body comes out, I really want to keep it on that chassis because it's the original. This body may end up going on it if that cut shows really bad with the decals. So the Group 2, because I don't want to build my original, I had bought this one eons ago because this was discontinued, and now it's obviously available. So supposedly Tamiya only released it in the UK, but you see them all over the States. So I'm not sure if they were brought in from the UK distributor or not, but like even my local hobby shop has this car on the shelf. So I had bought this from the Larry Zabotny. No, I'm sorry. I did not buy this one from the Larry Zabotny auction. The one I sent to Glenn came from the Larry Zabotny auction. But regardless, so this is kit 47308. I'm not sure if the new rendition has a new number or not, but I want to build the M05 chassis because if I'm not mistaken, it's a front wheel drive chassis, and that intrigues the hell out of me. So I'm looking forward to building that chassis and running it with one of the two body sets. And then I want to build this chassis, not necessarily to run it, but more as a show chassis for one of the bodies or what have you when this is done. So this video may go kind of all over the place because it may end up being like a 3 or a 4 video series where we build the M05 chassis, we build the TA05M chassis, and then we do the two body sets. So video 1, video 2, video 3. Or we do it in 4 videos, and then the bodies, depending on pin placement, the body pin placement may end up going back and forth. So I'm not sure how this body is supposed to attach to the M05. There are dimples for where body pins are supposed to go through, and the problem with that is if I do mount it that way, then I'll have holes if I go to put it in the original. So, and then I'm not sure if the body posts on this chassis match the body posts on this chassis, so we may have to get a little bit funky with how we mount the bodies. I may go magnets, to be completely honest. I do have some sets of body magnets, or just Velcro. It all depends on how they fit. So it's going to be, when we get to the bodies, it's going to be a little bit strategic as to how we do this, because I'd really like to be able to take this body, put it on both chassis, take this body, put it on both chassis, take this body, put it on my original, which is a lot of figuring, right? So we'll have to see. But the intention of this video is to start with one of these two kits. Not sure yet which one I'm going to start with. I want to get them both open. I'm really leaning towards the M05, to be completely honest, just because it's Bling City. I kind of want to get going on this one. So that's probably what's going to happen. And then video 2 will be the M05 chassis build itself. So let me bring the camera over real quick. We'll take a look at the two kits as they are, and then we'll get going on probably this one, just because I can't wait. Alright, so now that I have you in position, I showed you this in the last video. It's really, there's no real presentation on the ta05 M4, but you can see in this bag that there's a bunch of bling. So I know they do an aluminum steering set, 380 motor. I'm thinking about buying the upgraded motor, but we'll have to see. Carbon fiber. And then blue hexes. I believe the kit's fully ball raced. There's a ton of bearings in the B bag. And then we've got our blue bulkheads. Blue diff cap. Blue turnbuckles. That's the A bag, B bag. I don't even know if there's a C bag. I know there's not much to this. Comes with wheels. I don't know that it comes with tires. I can't remember. I'll leave the aerial in there. I don't need the aerial. Plastic parts tree. Plastic parts tree. So they do an aluminum steering bridge and arms, and they're available at Tamiya USA. So I'll probably end up getting a set, and hopefully they come in before the build is over. Dropped something on the floor. There's my other bag, C bag. So the shocks are tiny, the little TA05m shocks, blue steering arm. But I would be willing to bet that the steering parts, the steering bridge and everything is plastic in the kit. So I'll confirm that and then order the bling one. And then the M05 is just tossed in there. Now obviously this kit's been a little bit compromised. I bought this as a full kit, but it's missing the front end, unless it's already on the car, which is total crap. Plastic parts, body shell. Oh, you know what it is? You know what it is? I had gotten this. It's a 1/12 driver figure that I had gotten separate, so there it is. I don't remember why I don't remember why I got another driver figure, but I did. Somehow I got another 1/12 driver figure and I threw it in that box. So this is a full kit. So there's no tires in that kit, but there's tires in this kit, and then obviously we have the correct wheels in this kit, but they need to be painted. The rest of it is kind of just tossed in there. This does come with TBLE02. Don't see 540 motor in the M05. So that's cool. So not much to see really. The M05 will be a fun build just because it's well, it's not front wheel drive. I don't know. I saw somewhere it was showing like a front wheel drive. Motor's in the front, but it's not front wheel drive. I believe it's the front. Maybe it's the back. We'll find out. Obviously, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, so I don't know why I thought it was a front wheel drive, like an F chassis car. Looks like, yeah, it sits just behind the front gearbox. Let me see here. Gearbox battery. Choose from one of 3 different wheelbases. 210, 225, or 239. 3-piece steering tie rod. Ground hugging 4-wheel independent double wishbone suspension. Yeah, doesn't say anything about being front wheel drive, so it just says 3 different wheelbases. But I know this wheelbase is 210. 210 short wheelbase. Yep. So we're good. So we are going to get started on the TA05 because that's the one I really am excited to go after to begin with. So I'm going to get all this opened up and set up, and I will bring you back here in a second to get started. All right. So we're all opened up. Bag A. Tons of bling. It does come with the blue aluminum steering already, so that's one less. It's $25 less I need to spend. We've got our carbon fiber chassis ready to go, which is essentially first step. They want you to CA glue the sides of the chassis all the way around. A lot of people do that. If you're racing the car and you don't want it to delaminate, it's a good idea, but I don't do it on cars that are just messing around with. Sorry for the dog barking. So in step 2, it's got us starting to put bulkheads together. They are plastic bulkheads. This is them here, which is fine. There's 2 sets. So not like a TRF car where the bulkheads are metal, but it does have a metal center bulkhead with motor mount. So that's cool. So I'm going to get started here, getting my parts cut out, and like usual, I'll just bring you back as I have things to show you. See you in a second. Alright, well, we've got to start. Some blue bling on that nice carbon chassis. Ball race suspension. Feels great. It's hard to move it because the ball cups get stuck on the chassis if they're not up in the air. But yeah, it feels great. The diff retainers are in. So that's step 2 and 3 complete. Step 4 is going to get, I believe it's the motor mount together. So we'll dig those parts out and we'll keep on moving forward. I'm assuming it's a pulley shaft. The only unfortunate part of this build is it looks like most of the bling goes on in the first few steps. It's awesome, but at the same time it's over. And it's a bunch of black plastic. Is what it is. So yeah, we'll get the rest of our bling parts out here and we'll wrap this motor mount assembly up, and I'll bring you back here in a little bit. Alright, so we're through step 6. So the motor mount and center bulkhead is in. I was hoping we'd be able to fit a 540 motor in this, but there is no way because the bulkhead is made for a 380. Right? And it's completely surrounded by metal. So I don't know why I care, because at the end of the day, it's probably just going to end up on the shelf. I don't know how much we'll actually run this chassis. The M05 we're going to run for sure because that one's 540. I really just bought this because I fell in love with Chris's. So we'll have to see. If I do decide to run it, I'll upgrade it to a brushless. So step 6 was getting that together with the spur gear here. It's a 64 tooth spur, and then step 6 was getting the gear diffs put together. Oil diffs, I built them and then I let them sit sideways for 24 hours. It's a standard gear diff from Tamiya. It's a standard oil gear diff is what I should say. It's got the O-rings that go down in there, and then there's 2 shims. I'll show you. So there's an O-ring that goes down in, and then there's 2 shims, and then your pin, and then your gear just snaps onto the pin. So the out drives are pinned in, so they can't just fall out. And then you put your 4 little gears in, you fill the oil to the top of the gears, get your gasket on with the other gear on the other side, and then you have the 4 little 2x8mm self tappers. It's a good thing they give you an extra one, because I went to put the first screw in and the head stripped out halfway down. Of course, it stripped out in the clockwise direction, so I was able to still spin it back out. Because there was an extra one, I still had another chance to get the other 8 in. So what I did was I put a drop of the diff oil in each hole and then spun them down in, which was fine. They went in perfect, stopped where they were supposed to stop, and then I just wiped down the oil that had come out from me putting the screws in. So the diffs are built. Now we have to put 10 shims on. Literally 10 shims. Does this, I'm trying to see if this denotes front or rear. Doesn't say. No, make 2. So there's 10 shims per diff that need to go on. So I'll get that done with the bearings and then the adjusters. And then it has us getting the rear diff in place with the rear shock tower that we have to build up here. So I'll probably get to that point, and then I'll bring you back, and then we'll repeat the process for the front and get the front one in place. And at that point, we'll have essentially a functioning chassis, and we'll be getting the 2 upper deck carbon pieces on. And then it's a matter of starting our arm assembly. So I'll see you back here in a second with a rear diff in place. Figured I would bring you back. Does this happen to you? Does this happen to you? Where you're in the middle of a build and your cat jumps up on your workbench and lays on your hardware and all your parts and says, "Nope, it's all about me right now, Dad." Say hi, James. Say hi. He says, "Shut up and pet me." I'll bring you back in a second with a satisfied cat and a front diff in. Rear diff's done. Alright, I ended up doing both diffs. So, a couple of notes. Now that James is gone. The hair is ridiculous. Shedding, right? Winter fur. So, on the A6 parts, Tamiya tells you to file it down and clearance it just a little bit for the belts. And it tells you to do it both front and rear. So the belt on the rear, the pitch isn't bad. You really don't need to clearance it. But on the front, it's coming downhill at a somewhat steep angle. And it's definitely better to clearance it than to not clearance it. Everything feels great. So the dual belts are on, diffs are in place, shock towers are on, ball ends are in place for your upper arms and your upper shock mounts. All standard stuff if you've built any kind of a TA series car with dual belts. It's got the adjusters. Although now that I look at it, it looks like I did the front ones wrong. So the rear ones, the pin or the mark was in the center, right? And then on the front, it's showing it clocked 1, 2, 3, 4. Four back, 4 front on the front. So I'll have to undo that. Although the belt, yeah, it's loose. Well, I don't know that it's loose, but it's kind of important on the front because that steering arm is right there, right? So when the steering arm is in the center, that belt is literally, it's more so on the ball cup than it is on the bracket, but it is right there. You can see it right there. So I'll take that apart and readjust it real quick, and then it's got me getting, to finish off the A bag, we've got to get our last 2 pieces of carbon on, which are our chassis stiffeners or our upper deck. One of them has body posts attached. The rear one, the front one does not. So we'll get that done, and then we'll get into bag B. I'll bring you back when we're starting to put some arms on or something. Looks like rear first, then front. So moving right along here. So I'll see you in a second. Alright, so we finished off steps 10 and 11 where we put the upper deck on with the rear body pins. Easy enough. And then step 12, we get into bag B. I made the rear arms. They're 2-piece arms, easy enough. And they just have the little plastic ball ends that go onto the hinge pins. And then it just snaps in to the pieces we put on in step 2 with the rear suspension mount. It gets screwed up from underneath with 2 screws. So at this point, rear arms are on, tiny, and upper arms are on. Literally, they're tiny. Everything is tiny. I forget if this is a... Yeah, it's a 1/12 scale. Even though that's a 1/10 scale. We should be able to... I'm hoping to... Well, the wheelbase is right. It's just a matter of making the wheels fit. I almost bought another set of tires. But I don't know whether to get 1/12 scale tires or 1/10 scale tires. I need to look at the wheels and tires in that kit and match them up to this wheel for size. But we'll get to that at some point. So the next step is going to be making UJs. So this has got UJs in all 4 corners. So UJs, and they're a little bit different than what we are normal. They don't have the little snap spring. It's got a set screw that locks it in, if you look at the picture, and then rear uprights. So I'm going to get that built, those in place, and get the rear arms done, and then we're going to get front arms in place, and then it's basically repeat the process with steering knuckles. So I'll probably, I don't know, I'll probably just do a bunch and then bring you back. After that, it should be shocks. Yep. So we'll get back into some bling. And then it's literally just a motor, servo, wheels and tires. Sucks they don't give you tires. I mean, I didn't miss them. They're not in the kit, so... It says wheel assembly, and it's showing tires with tire foams, but it says separately available. It doesn't even give you a number, which kind of blows. Gives you the number for tire cement, but it doesn't give you the number for the tires. So I'm going to keep pushing forward. See you in a bit. All right. Bag B is done. I apologize, but I kind of had to push through. I mean, you've seen a million steering arms get put together and knuckles and C-hubs. It's all standard stuff. So it had me build the 4 UJs. I think that's about where we were. Bag B had me make the rear arms, pins. I went over that in the last clip. Had me make all 4 UJs. I showed those. Rear uprights, with upper arm mounts, ball end mounts. Get those installed with a pin. There's a spacer in the back, no big deal. C-clip on both sides. Rear end done. Front end, it does have pin on, screw on, blue hexes. Front arms get made identically, screw together. Ball ends get put in. Hinge pins go in with your little black ball ends on both sides. Gets bolted on, slides into the mounts that went in step 2. Front mount goes in, gets screwed in from underneath. Uprights and C-hubs get built same as usual. Kingpin screws, top and bottom. And then those get put on, same thing. C-clip on both sides of the hinge pins with a spacer in the back. So that completes bag B. Snap all your ball ends on. And this is where we're at. So rear end, nice and free. Everything spins nice. Diffs feel good. Front end, super, super smooth steering. Super smooth, like crazy smooth. Yeah. Non-adjustable on the front. They do give you 2 different size upper arms. One might be longer. I'm a stupid thing to say. Obviously, one is longer so that you can adjust your camber. But you could very easily make a very small turnbuckle with like a 10 millimeter turnbuckle and a couple of super short ball ends, turnbuckle ends, 5 millimeter. You could make your own adjustable front arms. So everything feels super smooth. The diff feels great. And then overall drive feels good. So we're at shocks. Bag C, they're Bling shock. They're the TA05 M4 shock, I believe. So they're tiny, tiny. Black spring. So they're going to look pretty cool when they're all put together. So we've got 4 shocks to make. Doesn't look like the springs are different front and rear. They all feel the same. So I'm going to get these opened up. I'm going to get the shocks made. And then we're going to get into mounting the motor and the servo in this bag as well. So I'll bring you back with some shocks. Might just be a finished car at this point. We'll have to see. So see you in a second. Well, you see a finished rig. TA05 M4. Done. This thing is cool as hell. So motor's in. Steering servo is in. I don't know if I dare try to steer it like that though. Wheels are on. I'm still gonna have to sort tires. I wanted to show you, so this is a TRF 417. So that's what we're dealing with size wise, right? That's wheel to wheel in the back. So it's like a mini TRF car. Absolutely cool as hell. Wheelbase is good. When I take this and put it on, this 1/12 body, the wheelbase fits perfect. So I am going to get set up for a closing. And I'll see you in a second for a closing. And then I'm going to immediately tear into the M05. Because that's the next step. Get both chassis built and then both bodies done. So see you in a second for a closing. So that's going to wrap up this video of the TA05 M4. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's such a small little chassis. It's so funny. I put it next to my 417, and the thing is tiny, tiny compared to that. But it's just like, it's like a miniature TRF car with all the carbon fiber and blue bulkheads and steering. Car feels cool as hell, I'll be honest. Little 380 motor. It's I did check the body on Group 2, and it does fit those body mounts perfect. So that body will go in between the two cars without any problems at all. Yeah, the build was cool. Chassis I had never heard of. Thank you, Chris, honestly, for sending me pictures of yours, because I would have just never known that it existed, to be completely honest. I sent pictures of it to Glenn, and Glenn was like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "It's a TA05 M4." I'm like, "It's a 1/12 chassis for the M series cars, which, even though they're 1/10, the wheel and tire sizes are the same too." So, yeah, it's funny because that's a 10th, this is a 12th, but everything lines up, right? So yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know if I'm gonna run it. It's hard because I don't want to scratch the carbon, but I guess I'll have to tape it. I'm intrigued to see what it does. I don't think it'll be earth-shattering with a 380, and there's no way to convert it over to a 540. I don't think you could put a different bulkhead in there to make that work, you know? So you could go with like a 380 brushless and try to give it some more pep, but yeah, it kind of is what it is. The M05 is a 540 motor, so I mean, I think it's just going to dust it regardless, even though the size is the same. But just cool. I mean, dual belt, fully ball race, just a neat chassis. Oil gear diffs, TRF M series shocks. Oh, what a cool little rig. Yeah, I'm glad I bought it, and I'm glad I built it. So yeah, if you haven't heard of this chassis, you'll have to let me know in the comments what you think of it, because I didn't know anything about it. I don't proclaim to be a know-it-all Tamiya guy, and I love finding new stuff, even if it's discontinued or what have you. Like, just so neat. So yeah, you'll have to let me know in the comments what you think, and then the next video we'll build up the M05 chassis, and we'll just keep taking this piece by piece, getting the Renault 5 Turbo and Golf Group 2 Mach 1 done. I know the Mach 2, I had mentioned the blue, how you see the body painted in the blue. That's the Mach 2 version, not the Mach 1. So yeah, don't blow up the comments about how that's a Mach 2. I get it. It's, again, you're just learning stuff. So yeah, if you're not already a subscriber, I would encourage you to subscribe to support the channel. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of all of it. The M05 car, the Group 2 car, the Turbo Renault, the TA05 M4. Yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of all of it. So cool. So yeah, I'll see you on the next one with the M05 chassis. And until then, we'll see you soon. Thanks.